Twelfth Night, or What You Will, is a comedy by William Shakespeare, believed to have been written around 1601–02 as a Twelfth Night entertainment for the close of the Christmas season. The play centers on the twins Viola and Sebastian, who are separated in a shipwreck. Viola falls in love with Duke Orsino, who in turn is in love with the Countess Illyria. Upon meeting Viola, Countess Illyria falls in love with her, thinking she is a man. The play expanded on the musical interludes and riotous disorder expected of the occasion, with plot elements drawn from the short story of Apollonius and Scylla by Barnaby Rich, based on a story by Matteo Bandello. The first recorded performance was on the 2nd of February 1602, at Candlemas. The formal end of Christmas died in the year's calendar. The play was not published until its inclusion in the 1623 First Folio. Characters: Viola, Sebastian's twin sister, a shipwrecked young lady, the heroine of the play, later disguised as a young man named Cesario. Sebastian, Viola's twin brother, supposedly drowned in the shipwreck, but actually alive and visiting Illyria. Duke Orsino, Duke of Illyria. Olivia, a wealthy countess. Malvolio, steward in the household of Olivia. Maria, Olivia's gentlewoman. Sir Toby Belch, Olivia's uncle. Sir Andrew Aguecheek, a rich man who Sir Toby brings to be Olivia's wooer. Festa, the clown, or jester, of Olivia's household. Fabian, a servant and friend to Sir Toby. Antonio, a captain and friend to Sebastian. Valentine and Curio, gentlemen attending on the Duke. A servant of Olivia. Captain of the wrecked ship, friend to Viola. Setting: Illyria. The setting of Twelfth Night is important to the play's romantic atmosphere. Illyria was an ancient region of the Western Balkans whose coast covered the coasts of modern-day Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro and Albania. It included the city-state of the Republic of Ragusa, which has been proposed as the setting. Illyria may have been suggested by the Roman comedy Menechma, the plot of which also involves twins who are mistaken for each other. Illyria is also referred to as a site of pirates in Shakespeare's earlier play, Henry VI Part 2. The names of most of the characters are Italian, but some of the comic characters have English names. Oddly, the Illyrian Lady Olivia has an English uncle, Sir Toby Belch. It has been noted that the play's setting also has other English allusions, such as Viola's use of Westward Ho, a typical cry of 16th-century London boatmen, and also Antonio's recommendation to Sebastian of the Elephant, as where it is best to lodge in Illyria. The Elephant was a pub not far from the Globe Theatre. Synopsis: Viola is shipwrecked on the coast of Illyria and she comes ashore with the help of a captain. She loses contact with her twin brother, Sebastian, whom she believes to be dead. Disguising herself as a young man under the name Cesario, she enters the service of Duke Orsino through the help of the sea captain who rescues her. Duke Orsino has convinced himself that he is in love with Olivia, whose father and brother have recently died, and who refuses to see charming things, be in the company of man, and entertain love or marriage proposals from anyone, the Duke included, until 7 years have passed. Duke Orsino then uses Cesario as an intermediary to profess his passionate love before Olivia. Olivia, however, forgetting about the 7 years in his case, falls in love with Cesario, as she does not realize the Duke's messenger is Viola in disguise. In the meantime, Viola has fallen in love with the Duke Orsino, creating a love triangle between Duke Orsino, Olivia and Viola. Viola loves Duke Orsino, Duke Orsino loves Olivia, and Olivia loves Viola disguised as Cesario. In the comic subplot, several characters conspire to make Olivia's pompous steward, Malvolio, believe that Olivia has fallen for him. This involves Olivia's uncle, Sir Toby Belch, another would-be suitor, a silly squire named Sir Andrew Aguecheek, her servants Maria and Fabian, and her fool, Festa. Sir Toby and Sir Andrew engage themselves in drinking and revelry, thus disturbing the peace of Olivia's house until late into the night. prompting Malvolio to chastise them. Sir Toby famously retorts, "Dost thou think, because thou art virtuous, there shall be no more cakes and ale?" Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, and Maria are urged to plan revenge on Malvolio. They convince Malvolio that Olivia is secretly in love with him by planting a love letter, written by Maria, in Olivia's hand. It asks Malvolio to wear yellow stockings cross-gartered, to be rude to the rest of the servants, and to smile constantly in the presence of Olivia. Malvolio finds the letter and reacts in surprised delight. He starts acting out the contents of the letter to show Olivia his positive response. Olivia is shocked by the changes in Malvolio and leaves him to the contrivances of his tormentors. Pretending that Malvolio is insane, they lock him up in a dark chamber. Festa visits him to mock his insanity, both disguised as a priest and as himself. Meanwhile, Sebastian arrives on the scene, which adds confusion of mistaken identity. Mistaking Sebastian for Cesario, Olivia asks him to marry her, and they are secretly married in a church. Finally, when Cesario and Sebastian appear in the presence of both Olivia and Orsino, there is more wonder and confusion at their similarity. At this point, Viola reveals her disguise and that Sebastian is her twin brother. The play ends in a declaration of marriage between Duke Orsino and Viola, and it is learned that Sir Toby has married Maria. Malvolio swears revenge on his tormentors and stalks off, but Orsino sends Fabian to placate him. Date and text. The full title of the play is Twelfth Night, or What You Will. Subtitles for plays were fashionable in the Elizabethan era, and though some editors placed The Merchant of Venice's alternative title, The Jew of Venice, as a subtitle, this is the only Shakespearean play to bear one when first published. The play was probably finished between 1600 and 1601, a period suggested by the play's referencing of events which happened during that time. A law student, John Manningham, who was studying in the Middle Temple in London, described the performance on the 2nd of February 1602, which took place in the hall of the Middle Temple at the formal end of Christmastide in the year's calendar, and to which students were invited. This was the first recorded performance of the play. The play was not published until its inclusion in the first folio in 1623. Twelfth Night is a reference to the 12th night after Christmas Day, called the eve of the Feast of Epiphany. It was originally a Catholic holiday but, prior to Shakespeare's play, had become a day of revelry. Servants often dressed up as their masters, men as women, and so forth. This history of festive ritual and carnivalesque reversal, based on the ancient Roman festival of Saturnalia at the same time of year, is the cultural origin of the play's gender confusion-driven plot. The source story, of Apollonius and Scylla, appeared in Barnaby Rich's collection, Riche his farewell to military profession, containing very pleasant discourses fit for a peaceable time, which in turn is derived from a story by Matteo Bandello. Performance history. During and just after Shakespeare's lifetime, the earliest known performance took place at Middle Temple Hall, one of the Inns of Court, on Candlemas Night, the 2nd of February 1602. The only record of the performance is an entry in the diary of the lawyer John Manningham, who wrote, "At our feast we had a play called Twelfth Night, or What You Will, much like the Comedy of Errors, or Menechma in Plautus, but most like and near to that in Italian called Inganni. A good practice in it to make the steward believe his lady widow was in love with him, by counterfeiting a letter as from his lady, in general terms telling him what she liked best in him and prescribing his gesture in smiling, his apparel, etc. And then, when he came to practice, making him believe they took him for mad." Clearly, Manningham enjoyed the Malvolio story most of all, and noted the play's similarity with Shakespeare's earlier play, as well as its relationship with one of its sources, the Inganni plays. At this particular performance, Manningham also notes the interesting dimension that is added when a male actor plays a female character who disguises herself as a man. Some scholars attribute this to an innate Elizabethan structure that systematically deprived gender diversity of its nature and meaning. Although male actors playing female roles were a natural feature of theatre productions during the Elizabethan era, they hold special significance in the production of this particular play, as the very nature of Twelfth Night explores gender identity and sexual attraction. Having a male actor play Viola enhanced the impression of androgyny and sexual ambiguity. Some modern scholars believe that Twelfth Night, with the added confusion of male actors and Viola's deception, addresses gender issues with particular immediacy. They also accept that the depiction of gender in Twelfth Night stems from the era's prevalent scientific theory that females are simply imperfect males. This belief explains the almost indistinguishable differences between the sexes reflected in the casting and characters of Twelfth Night. It may have been performed earlier as well, before the court at Whitehall Palace on Twelfth Night of 1601. Twelfth Night was also performed at court on Easter Monday 6 April 1618, and again at Candlemas in 1623. Restoration to 20th century. The play was also one of the earliest Shakespearean works acted at the start of the Restoration. Sir William Davenant's adaptation was staged in 1661, with Thomas Betterton in the role of Sir Toby Belch. Samuel Pepys thought it a silly play, but saw it 3 times anyway during the period of his diary on the 11th of September 1661, the 6th of January 1663, and the 20th of January 1669. Another adaptation, Love Betrayed E, or The Agreeable Disappointment, was acted at Lincoln's Inn Fields in 1703. After holding the stage only in the adaptations in the late 17th century and early 18th century, the original Shakespearean text of Twelfth Night was revived in 1741, in a production at Drury Lane. In 1820 an operatic version by Frederick Reynolds was staged, with music composed by Henry Bishop. 20th and 21st century influential productions were staged in 1912 by Harley Granville Barker, and in 1916, at the Old Vic. Lillian Bayliss reopened the long-dormant Sadler's Wells Theatre in 1931 with a notable production of the play starring Ralph Richardson as Sir Toby, and John Gielgud as Malvolio. The Old Vic Theatre was reopened in 1950 with a memorable production starring Peggy Ashcroft as Viola. Gielgud directed a production at the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre with Laurence Olivier as Malvolio and Vivian Leigh playing both Viola and Sebastian. In 1955, the longest-running Broadway production by far was Margaret Webster's 1940 staging starring Morris Evans as Malvolio and Helen Hayes as Viola. It ran for 129 performances, more than twice as long as any other Broadway production. A memorable production directed by Levi Uciula at the Guthrie Theatre in Minneapolis, October-November 1984, was set in the context of an archetypal circus world, emphasizing its convivial, carnival tone. When the play was first performed, all female parts were played by men or boys, but it has been the practice for some centuries now to cast women or girls in the female parts in all plays. The Company of Shakespeare's Globe, London, has produced many notable, highly popular all-male performances, and a highlight of their 2002 season was Twelfth Night, with the Globe's artistic director Mark Rylance playing the part of Olivia. This season was preceded, in February, by a performance of the play by the same company at Middle Temple Hall, to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the play's premiere, at the same venue. The same production was revived in 2012-13 and transferred to sell-out runs in the West End and Broadway. Stephen Fry played Malvolio. It ran in repertory with Richard III. Interpretations of the role of Viola have been given by many well-renowned actresses in the latter half of the 20th century, and have been interpreted in the light of how far they allow the audience to experience the transgressions of stereotypical gender roles. This has sometimes correlated with how far productions of the play go towards reaffirming a sense of unification. For example, a 1947 production concentrated on showing a post-World War II community reuniting at the end of the play, led by a robust hero-heroine in Viola, played by Beatrix Lehmann, then 44 years old. The 1966 Royal Shakespeare Company production played on gender transgressions more obviously, with Diana Rigg as Viola showing much more physical attraction towards the Duke than previously seen, and the court in general being a more physically demonstrative place, particularly between males. John Barton's 1969 production starred Donald Sinden as Malvolio and Judi Dench as Viola. Their performances were highly acclaimed, and the production, as a whole, was commented on as showing a dying society crumbling into decay. Malvolio is a popular character choice among stage actors. Others who have taken the part include Ian Holm many times, Simon Russell Beale, Richard Cordery in 2005, Patrick Stewart in Chichester in 2007, Derek Jacobi in 2009, Richard Wilson in 2009, and Stephen Fry at the Globe in 2012.